Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're holding on to your hats because today I am giving you my Formula One 2020 predictions. So, without further ado, let's get ready to rumble! Alright, sorry you guys had to see that, but I'm keeping the suit. So I'm basically going to just jump into some of my crazy predictions first, and then we'll go into the Constructors and then the Drivers' Championship as well. So first, I'm going to start out by saying I think McLaren will get a win this year. Not just a podium like they did last year, but a full win. Most likely with Sainz, but I'm thinking a win. And on the flip side, I don't think Vettel will get a win. So calling that now, I don't think Vettel will stand on the top step of the podium in 2020. And then after that, I do also believe that Albon will get his first win. I think it's definitely time, and he's shown the ability to get on the podium this year. Unfortunately, it was taken away from him in Brazil, but I believe he has what it takes to stand on the top step. I also believe that, again, Leclerc will have more pole positions than any other driver this season. And I believe we'll have the highest number of different drivers stand on the podium. Because just looking at how close it is in the midfield right now, I think it's hard to say that Perez won't stand on the podium, that Sainz won't stand on the podium, that Norris won't stand on the podium, and that basically any of the top six drivers through Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, that obviously they'll get on the podium as well. So I think, we have a good combination of drivers. Maybe even Ricciardo will get on the podium, possibly Ocon as well. So I think this is going to be a juicy season for podiums, to be honest. And then I want to say this here and now. I believe that McLaren will win the 2021 Constructors' Championship. Now, I know that's next season's predictions, but I want to be one of the first to predict for 2021 that McLaren, here and now, under my predictions, will be the 2021 Constructors' Championship leaders. And that's because in history, throughout Formula One, whenever there's a big regulation change, usually a team that was kind of strong but not really in contention for a championship in years before has been the one to then win. If you look at Braun or Renault, anything like that, in the recent, maybe 20, 30 years, it's always been a team that comes basically from, maybe a midfield position and then comes up to win after a regulation change, or just a run of domination. And right now we've had huge run of domination from Mercedes, obviously, with Ferrari and Red Bull really being their only true competitors. And I think in the background, McLaren's just been working their butts off. And I think 2019 was an indication that they're on the right path. And then I think 2021, they're going to be the team to beat. They will be essentially Braun GP, I believe. So, with that said, let's move on to the Constructors' Championship for the 2020 season, the following one. All right, now I'll do this in reverse order. So I'll start with who I've placed in 10th for the Constructors, which will be Haas, unfortunately. This one's kind of a bummer. I wish I didn't need to put them there, but I really can't see that car figuring out its tire issues or really the driver issues as well. I think they have, unfortunately, one of the worst driver lineups this season. And considering their car, in my opinion, is really just a copy almost of the 2019 Ferrari, I don't really see it being able to fix the tire issues, given that the Ferrari didn't have very good use of tires last season either. Then following them, I've put Williams. So I do believe Williams will jump up into 9th position. I think the car is showing good signs in testing, and I have extreme faith in Russell, and maybe Latifi will be all right. I think he'll be better than Kubica, but I don't know if he'll be particularly special. I think they'll have kind of a fun fight for last place, if you will, between them and Haas. But I think they'll come out on top, probably get somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 points. overall, with Haas maybe getting 3 or 4. After them, I have Alpha Tauri in eighth place, and that's because I don't actually have a lot of faith in this car for this year. And historically, usually they kind of flip flop between years, so they'll have a really good year like they did in 2019, and then they'll kind of just flop a little bit, have a bit of a downer year. And just looking at the design of the car, I don't have a lot of faith in the design. It doesn't really, I don't know, doesn't assure me of much. So I have them in eighth, definitely a drop down from where they were before. And then in seventh, I have Alfa Romeo, because they have, I think they have a pretty decent driver lineup. I know Raikkonen is pretty old now and most likely in his last year with Formula One. But I think Giovinazzi is definitely improving. He's no longer one of the kind of less impressive drivers. I think he's definitely in the middle of the driver market right now. And I think that car is going to be pretty good given that it's sharing a lot of the Ferrari parts. So I think I have faith in them being seventh. After them, I have Renault, basically placing actually a spot underneath where they placed the year before. I know that 2019 was really not a good year for them and that they were hoping that this year would be better. And so far, I'm not really sure if that's going to be possible. I don't see how that's really going to work out for them. And I'm not sure if the car is really reassuring me so far. Looks good, but I don't think it's going to be the best on track. And I think Ricciardo and Ocon are going to have a lot to do with them being in a decent place. But after them, I have McLaren in fifth place. So basically, actually dropping from where they were before. And this is actually mostly because I think Racing Point will be in fourth position. Now, looking at the car, which is, as many people are calling it, the Tracing Point car, basically an exact copy of the Mercedes from last year. Looking at the qualifying times for the W10 at Spain last year, that car is still faster than any of the times posted in testing so far. And I know testing is going to be sandbagging to an extent, but it means that chassis, in my opinion, given that nothing's really been blown out of the water, I guess usually there's still progression in testing. And I think looking at the times that they posted last year, I assume that Racing Point car, given that it's basically just the W10, will be competitive for the first half of the season and really give them a substantial lead over McLaren. And then as the year progresses, it seems like Racing Point maybe doesn't have the best understanding of the car, given that it's a completely new design for them. And I think McLaren's going to slowly but surely reel them back in, and then it's going to be just a couple points between the two teams. And so I think, McLaren's just going to lose out on that, and Racing Point will finish fourth. And then getting into the top three, I have Ferrari actually placed in third position. And that's because I just don't have a lot of faith in this car either. I think possibly some of what's going on in testing is sandbagging, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of confidence in that car. It doesn't seem like it's extremely reliable so far. And I don't know. Not sure how much it's really changed from last year as well, looking at the overall design. There's a little bit of improvement with the front wing. But I'm not really sure how good that car is going to be. And then in second place, and I really would have loved to place them in first until testing happened. I had them in first. In second, I have Red Bull. I think that car is going to be really competitive this year. I think the Honda power plant just keeps going up and up in terms of its development. I think right now, for this season at least, it should be able to compete pretty well with the Ferrari power plant and with the Mercedes power plant. So I think that car is going to be quite competitive, and it seems like the chassis has improved as well. And then in first place, unfortunately, I have Mercedes again, which I know is really boring. But yeah, after they released the DAS system, the dual axis steering, I don't know, I can't see them losing the championship now with that. That's such a incredible, I think it's a subtle but incredible innovation, and it's not going to be banned for this year. And I think it will solve some of their straight line speed problems, hopefully, because if they can bring the toe back to a more normal parallel state on a straight line, I think it will solve a lot of the problems they had in Monza or in Spa against the Ferraris. So yeah, I think Red Bull will definitely be able to get them on the tighter tracks, as is always the case, but I think Mercedes is really gonna have their straight line speed sorted out and then still be quite competitive on other courses. So yeah, that's the Constructors' Championship. And then for the drivers, I'll try to get through this quickly and again in reverse order. So we'll start with 20th. I have Romain Grosjean, and this is kind of not really a surprise, I don't think, to anyone. I just don't see him being strong enough, or the car being strong enough to really compete at all this season. So yeah, I hope he scores a couple points, but I really wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't score any. I just don't think that car is going to be good. I don't think he'll be good. 19th, I have Latifi, because he'll be new to the car. I still don't know how great the Williams will be. It's going to be a lot to ask him to be any higher than 19th. Then in 18th, I have Kevin Magnussen, another Haas car, because again, I don't think that car is going to be particularly good. I don't know how good Kevin Magnussen's going to be. So I think 18th is the highest I can place him. Next, I have Kvyat in 17th place, because towards the end of 2019, he started to kind of fall off and go into his old Kvyat ways. And so yeah, I don't really see him being that great this season. I don't know if he'll be able to keep his seat, honestly. Unfortunately, I like Daniel Kvyat, but I don't know if he'll be able to stay past this season, and I think 17th is about as good as he'll do. Next, unfortunately as well, I have Raikkonen in 16th, because I think he's going to kind of follow the, again, later half of the season from last season. I think he'll basically just kind of mellow out. I think this is going to be his last year before he retires. And yeah, I think 16th is about as good as the car will be, is about as willing to win as he'll be. And in 15th, I have Pierre Gasly. Again, not a lot of faith in that AlphaTauri. I could be proven completely wrong, but that's why it's a prediction video. Yeah, I think he'll keep his seat, but I don't think he'll do anything super special. I don't know if there'll be any podiums in Brazil again this year, but or anywhere for that matter. So yeah, Gasly in 15th. Then in 14th, I have George Russell. And I know this might come as a surprise, given that the Williams is not super competitive, but I have immense faith in this kid. I don't know what it really is, but I think it's just the amount of confidence he has as a driver. I love listening to him speak. He had an incredible Formula 2 career. I think it's an absolute crime that he's in a Williams and not in a Mercedes, or at least a Racing Point. I think he's just, years above his age mentally, and I have faith in this being his season to really shine, and I think 14th in a Williams will be about as shiny as you can get. After that, in 13th position, I have Giovinazzi. I think he'll kind of continue his good form from last year. Towards the end of 2019, he was doing pretty well, consistently outscoring Raikkonen, and so I think that will continue through into this year. I think he'll keep his seat. I don't know if he'll be moved up to Ferrari realistically. Even if Vettel leaves, I struggle to believe that they would replace Vettel with Giovinazzi. Even if Giovinazzi has a pretty decent year, he would need something extraordinary. After that, in 12th position, I have Esteban Ocon. I have a decent bit of confidence in him being able to do well this year. I think 12th is a reasonable place to end up on a new team who's been out of Formula One for a year. I like Ocon a lot. Still a little bit angry about what he did to Max in Brazil 2018, but I think we've moved past that. And yeah, I can strongly say that I think he's a great driver. I'm not sure if he'll be able to beat Ricardo, though, who I have placed in 11th. I think they'll be battling really closely throughout the season. I think there's going to be pretty juicy team battle throughout the Renault garage. So yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one to look out for, even though it's only going to be 12th and 11th position. I think that will be a fun fight. And then in 10th, and this one might come as a surprise, I have Stroll. And this is mostly based on the strength that I believe that car will have. More than anything else, I think that Racing Point is going to be a really strong car, and I think Stroll would need to do a lot wrong to get any lower than 10th, the way I'm predicting that car will turn out this year. And then in 9th, after that, I have Norris, so him making a little bit of improvement. I think the McLaren's going to be kind of, as I mentioned before, a little bit stagnant compared to where it was last year. So I think it's going to be about the same level, not a huge improvement this year. I think they'll be really planning for 21. So I think Norris will be able to show us that he's still a talented driver, but I don't know how great the car is going to be. And then after this, probably my biggest upset on the list, I have in 8th position Vettel. I really don't see how he's going to be much better than 8th. I think I played around with a bunch of different positions to put him, and at the end of the day, this just felt the most natural because of the next two drivers I have after him. But I don't think the car is going to be great. And I don't think he's really going to have the motivation to do anything better than 8th. Because then in 7th place, I have Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. And I think that's just going to be, following a great season last year. He'll have another really good one this year. I don't know if it'll be as good of a season, to be honest. I don't really see how he'd be able to keep up that incredible of a season, really. I mean, looking back on it, he was probably most people's favorite driver of the year. And so I think, to say that he'll be able to do that again would be asking a lot. So I have him in 7th. And then in 6th, I have Perez because I think, again, that Racing Point is going to be a really strong car. Essentially as strong as the McLaren was last year, kind of a very strong midfield car. Something that can really, fight with the big boys every once in a while. And so, I have Perez in 6th, and knowing Perez too, throughout his career in Formula One, he's been able to hit way higher than his level at times. He has those days where he just has incredible results, and I assume 2020 will be no different. Then after that, I have Albon in 5th place. As I said, I think he will get a win or two this year, but 5th seems about reasonable to me, given that Vettel had a win last year and finished in 5th place. I think Albon will be about the same in the Red Bull. And then in 4th, and this one was hard, these top 4 get really difficult for me. In 4th, I have Leclerc, so basically finishing where he finished last season as well. But I think it's going to be incredibly close between really all of the top 4 drivers that I have placed on the list. Because then in 3rd, I have Bottas. I don't really think he'll have a crap season. I think a lot of people are expecting them to have a really crappy season, and then he'll be booted and Russell will be brought in for 21. I don't deny that might happen, given that Russell might really show us what he's got this year, but I think it's going to be basically Bottas in 3rd, and then Max in 2nd, and then unfortunately Hamilton in 1st again. And I really wish, again, that I could have had someone else up there, but I just realistically looking at it, I don't see how Hamilton's going to be backing off from anything this year, given that he's so close to 7 world championships. I think he's going to be relentless this year. Even if the car is not as incredible as I think it will be, I can't see him getting any less than first. And then, as I said, I think it's going to be super tight between Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, and Leclerc. I wouldn't think it to be out of the question to see a title fight between at least 3 of them brought out all the way to Abu Dhabi. So, calling that as one of my predictions too, that I think we'll have a title fight between 3 drivers going all the way to the last race in the 2020 season. And on that note, video is done. Thank you very much, guys. Signing off.